Yes, family, we are back with another video. I am your host, Locke, or you can call me Spear. Make sure you show that comment section some love. Tap in so you can be back in here, the home where basketball, where we do a lot. We vibe out, scratch boys up, and the community of basketball enthusiasts, not just myself. We all teach. Y'all even teach me. So go ahead and drop some teaching in the comment section below and add context. Let's get it.
He's going to be the next Dirk. He's going to be a cornerstone of the franchise. We believe in him. This is in 2018. Flash forward to 2024, and this investment in 2018 has paid off. In 2024, Luka leads the Mavs to the NBA Finals. And then they only have one championship in their entire franchise history. He got the finals. And they didn't win, but he played amazing. He was the leading scorer of the league, and ESPN ranked him as the #2 overall player of the year. He was the face of the franchise. He was an all-star. He was runner-up MVP voting, headed for a future MVP. And then 3 days ago, a weird tweet popped up from famous NBA reporter Shams. Break it. The Dallas Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and one first-round pick. The response was confusion. Not shock, not anger, confusion. He must have been hacked. This is def hacked, bro. What the fuck? Even fucking players. Tyrese Halliburton, Shams got hacked. LeBron James, AD, and Luka were all stunned. Players involved in the trade were all stunned. Even Shams himself,
I beg your pardon.
thought his own phone was hacked.
I thought my phone was hacked when I got the text messages.
He thought the information that he got was hacked before he posted it.
I was almost asleep, so when I got a call, I had to check it was.
Hey, how many of y'all thought that you got hacked when you saw the information or that somebody's page got hacked? Drop hashtag hacked in the chat.
April 1st.
He thought it was April Fool's. I mean, he had just bought a brand new home in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Matter of fact, hashtag Geek Squad.
He was in there for the long haul. He thought he was a lifelong Mavs. People realized this wasn't a hack. This wasn't fake. This was a real trade. Even the Jazz, who were part of this three-way trade to make it done, had no idea what was happening. They didn't know Luka or AD were part of the deal until an hour before it was completed. But by then, it was too late to do anything about it. And once it became clear this was not a fake trade, this was real, that's when the firestorm hit. That's when the hate started pouring in fast and furious. The Luka Doncic trade is the dumbest NBA move I've ever seen. Mavericks fans started literally disassociating. It was the first time in my life when I was like, oh, I'm not awake right now. When I read, I was like, I'm not awake. This isn't real. And then I was like, he was hacked. His girlfriend immediately went into triage mode. She was like, it's gonna be okay. Take a beta blocker. The trade was fucking brutal. It was the last vestige of a calmer world. Luka got us through the pandemic. It's such a massive betrayal. The Mavericks lost 700,000 Instagram followers overnight. Even Duolingo was making fun of him. The fans started to show up literally in protest in front of the stadium.
I've been a Mavs fan my whole entire life since I've been a baby. This is the worst moment in the history of my life. This is crazy, man.
Hey, I covered this video already, but I didn't say this on the last video. My boy got on a whole tux jacket or a suit jacket with a jersey on it. That boy just off from his lunch break. It's a dedication. Shout out to the Luka dog standing on business. See,
We went to the NBA Finals. Why are we trading the best player, the franchise player? How are we trading the franchise player? You went to the NBA Finals. He's supposed to have a statue. He's supposed to have a statue.
They told us we were going to get a statue for Luka. That was the plan that the fans had been building toward. It was working. They had just gone to the finals. What the f is happening? I bought this t-shirt, by the way. Another ambush in Dallas. This is the one question they had. The question was why in the hell did the Mavericks blow up all their fan goodwill and everything they've been building towards in this seemingly nonsense trade? There's the official story. I'll tell it to you now. The official story is that AD, who was a great player, was worth it. Their GM thought Anthony Davis will bring the defense they need to win championships. They're now built to win now and in the future. His first day as a Maverick, they got his stats.
Hey man, y'all forgive me, StreamYard like to play with your boy.
And he had to correct them in the comments. But this argument is a little suspicious, especially given that the second this trade happened, odds makers who have been good at predicting what happens in the NBA have cut the Mavericks' odds of winning and drastically increased the Lakers' odds of winning for this season, not even the future. By the way, Luka's way younger, has more of his prime ahead of him. And then obviously the Mavs' first game without Luka, again, they haven't got AD yet, but was a demoralizing crash out, a 43-point lifeless disaster. I also watched this video and this went over the rumors. This is the rumors of what really happened. It wasn't just they wanted AD, it was that the unthinkable had happened.
Hey, drop in the comments if you know any context. I need to know. Let me know, man. Share that tea.
Luka Doncic was secretly fat.
Is that him for real?
That was the tea. In private, he had been skipping his conditioning. He was getting up to 270. He wasn't good enough. He wasn't good as we're not getting rid of a future MVP. We're getting rid of James Corden. They no longer view him as their franchise building block. That's pretty sudden after a finals, right? Apparently, the deal originally included more first-round picks and Dalton Knecht, a great player. But instead, it got whittled down to just basically AD and one pick because of his drinking and his weight problem. But if that were true, you'd think that.
So Rafa knew about all this stuff with Luka, and he used it as leverage against Nico. Hey, Nico, you didn't go in there prepared.
The coach of the Dallas Mavericks would have had at least some idea this is going to happen.
We kept it between us, so we had to keep it tight.
Just imagine what was happening in the culture of the Dallas Mavericks for Nico to feel the need to go ship Luka Doncic off like that. And this is a consensus around some of the Laker fan base.
We got the Mavs fear. Listen, I think you guys scammed us, man.
We need AD back, man.
Hey man, hashtag run off on the plug, man. We appreciate y'all locker room. We ain't going back to the X's, man.
J Kid didn't know about it, but J Kid and I
Look
are
at his
aligned.
face.
We talk about archetypes and we talk about the culture that we want to create. So I know the type of players that he likes without actually talking to him. Hey,
Would you like it if I got rid of your star player? The coach of the Dallas Mavericks had no idea that the player he'd been building around would be.
And not to mention, he tried to put some of the blame on Jason Kidd for a decision that Jason Kidd didn't even know Nico made. Talking about, I know how Jason Kidd feels about certain players and what players he want to see on the court. Like, man, don't put me in your mess. You made this decision on your own.
Would be sold out from underneath him. Also, as of today, when Luka landed in LA and did a press conference, people were noticing he doesn't look overweight in the best shape of his life, but he doesn't look 270, bro. He doesn't look like it's a fucking generational problem. He suddenly lost all of his fucking skill. He looks like he's fine. They asked Luka directly, was it because of your conditioning this happened? This is what he had to say.
How do you address the criticism that's followed you on your way out about concerns about conditioning and durability?
It's a motive. I know it's not true. I know, but it's a motive. Like I say,
Hey, you can't hide it in the face. Like, for all we know, he got on tights, a full body tight suit. Because in the Lakers uniform, he don't look like he's this size.
For a long run here.
All this adds up to say there's something confusing here, right? Even if this is all true, even if Luka's not the talent they want, even if AD is what they want to win, even if they think they could get something better for their team, why not ask other teams? Why not create a bidding war? You could have gotten the biggest haul in NBA history. They could have gotten anything. Every other team exec is furious that Lakers are the only team allowed to bid. And maybe you say, well, they didn't want to have it get out and have any fan backlash, but even
y'all hear it?
that's becoming untrue. The Mavs executive class said they didn't expect any backlash or this level of backlash. So what the hell is going on? And I think Ant Edwards summed it up best in this question.
They say that nobody knew about the trade. 25, they traded probably the best scorer in the NBA at 25. And he didn't know about it. There's a lot more digging somebody got to do to find out why he got traded. Because you don't just trade him at the inside.
It's a good question. You don't just trade at 25, you just went to the finals. There's a lot more digging we need to do to figure out what went on. And that is why introducing
Let me find out y'all about to get that hot tea over here, man. Make sure you subscribe.
Conspiracy. I think this goes a lot deeper. I think there's more going on here than what they are saying. And it comes in 4 parts. Number 1, a billionaire's game. You may have noticed if you're a sports fan, is it me? Do some owners just not care about winning anymore? As the NBA TV contracts start to get near NFL levels, the main source for revenue for all the owners is TV deals, which means they get the money regardless of how well they don't care about tickets. They just sit back and collect TV revenue. This is happening in every sport. Billionaires start buying teams they don't even care about. We got US billionaires buying English soccer teams. Billionaires are buying up sports teams left and right because the economics of sports franchise ownership have exploded beyond imagination. As the TV deals get bigger, like the recently signed $76 billion NBA TV deal, the amount of money you can make each year grows and grows, which means the most profitable thing to do is to cut your expenses as much as possible and coast. Interesting. And coast as your franchise value goes up and up. Additionally, billionaires have noticed you can use sports teams to avoid millions in taxes. Here's Steve Ballmer, a former CEO of Microsoft, who pays less in taxes as a percent than Anthony Davis. Ballmer made $656 million in income, paid 12%. Anthony Davis made $35 million in income, paid 40%. Here's how that works.
I gotta get one of those on that. Matter of fact, we might even have to play that twice.
This is billionaire Steve Ballmer. He owns the LA Clippers. He pays a way lower tax rate than millionaire LeBron James. He even pays a lower rate than Adelaide Avila, a stadium worker. Welcome to Planet Tax Avoidance. This is a magical place where sports team owners can tell the government they make tens or even hundreds of millions less than they actually do and pay very little in taxes. And it's all
Hey, the richer keep getting rich and the poor keep getting poor.
perfectly legal. How? Amortization. Pro sports teams are like unicorns in the business world. They always increase in value. But our tax laws allow the owners to claim that their team's assets lose value, like a machine that wears out over time.
Interesting. So the value keeps going up and up. You can cut your expenses to the bone to make money off the TV deals, and you can claim all of it as losses on your taxes to offset your other billionaire sources of income. What a great thing to own. Not to care about the sport, but to own. But if you were trying to cut expenses for an NBA team just to coast and make TV revenue money, well, then you wouldn't want to spend $345 million signing a brand new Supermax contract with Luka Doncic next year. You'd probably want to cut that off altogether, even though this was designed so that smaller market teams could keep their stars, pay them what they're actually worth. Instead, you could cut it. And again, they may have floated the idea that he wouldn't sign that deal or try to go somewhere else. But if you ask him, look at his face.
Is he cooking? Hashtag cooking in the chat if he's cooking.
That there's a chance you might not agree to the Supermax extension. Did you or anyone on your inner circle indicate that
Luka want to cuss. He want to say that's bull.
that might be the case?
Absolutely not.
There's no fucking way he wouldn't sign it. It would be the highest paid player in the NBA. Of course he wants that deal. And now that he's in the Lakers, he can't get that deal. The Supermax only applies to the team you drafted with if you're a star for a long time, which means the best deal he can get in the Lakers is $116 million less. So Luka gets robbed out of,
I beg your pardon?
the money he earned by staying with Dallas. And of course, the Dallas owners get to save a little bit of money. But it doesn't stop there. Let's go back to this guy for a second, as he complains about the money ruining his favorite sport.
This new management is putting profit over fans. They're not worried about the fans. They don't care that we've invested 7 years of it believing in Luka, believing in building a team around Luka. They don't care about that. They just want to make their gambling money, make a couple $100 million, and leave us stuck out here. Now we're back to square zero.
That's a good point. The only thing he got wrong is he said they want to make a few $100 million. Part 2, the house always wins. Now you might think he's talking about
Hey, that boy been out here listening to me. I've been talking about this casino for the longest, even since last season.
Of the owner, Mark Cuban, of the Dallas Mavericks. Because for 23 years, the owner of the Mavericks has been Mark Cuban. You know him from Shark Tank. But he's been the passionate face. He's there at the front row every game. He does the press conferences. He's clearly a diehard basketball fan. But he said in this quote, new management. Because Mark Cuban is not the current owner of the Dallas Mavericks. If he was still the owner, I don't think this trade would have happened. Because he said, and I quote, if I had to choose between my wife and keeping Luka on the Mavs, catch me at my lawyer office preparing for a divorce. So I don't think Mark Cuban would have gone for this trade. But Mark Cuban is no longer the owner of the Mavericks. This guy is. The Vegas casino executive who just hit the NBA jackpot. This is Patrick Dumont. He co-owns the Mavericks now with the Adelson family, long-term Vegas casino billionaires. Sheldon is now dead. This is Miriam, his wife, who carries on his name of being a Vegas billionaire. But these three own the Mavericks, with Mark Cuban owning a small... Shots fired! Why did Mark Cuban sell to these Vegas billionaires? It was the changing NBA landscape. Let's get his words exactly.
Very pointed question. Why did you sell the Mavs?
So I sold 3/4 of them, not the whole thing. I still own 7.7% for a couple of reasons. When I first bought in 2000, I was the tech guy in the NBA. I had every edge in every angle. Now, fast forward 24 years later, in order to sustain growth, to be able to compete with the new collective bargaining agreement, you have to have other sources of revenue. So when you came into the league in 2002 and bought the Mavs, you were the tech guy, and NBA wanted tech guys. It was basically time for rich people to buy sports teams and lose money on them and whatever. But in this new era, what do you need to have to compete, Mark? And so you see other teams, and all sports for that matter, talking about casinos, talking about doing real estate development, hotel. That's just not me. You need casinos, you need hotels, you need real estate experience to turn your...
And not to mention, Mark Cuban has been doing all this political stuff. I swear some of that bad juju is still on the team. Hashtag bad juju in the chat if you feel what I'm saying.
And that's facts. Sports team into a much bigger profit. That's where the money is. You need to be basically, as Steve Ballmer might say, a real estate... Developers.
Bruh, if you're sweating from talking up there...
There's something off with this place.
Right.
Developers. It's all about real estate developers. Why billionaire sports owners are snapping up so much real estate. That is what the future of sports is, because of gambling. The hotels, the resorts, the casinos, the sports books, all built into around the stadiums. Mark Cuban recognizes this. Again, the Mavericks franchise is worth a few billion now, but if they sell it to a casino owner... If we're able to build a Venetian type casino in Dallas with an American Airlines Center in the middle of it, the valuation is $20 billion. But I own 27% of that. Good for you, Mark. But yes, $20 billion if you can build...
So Mark is concerned about the money? That's crazy. You gonna do the fans like that over the
Venetian casino in Dallas? Interesting. This fact will come up later. Let's go to part 3. Showtime. This is Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA. You might know him from the meme where he says, "Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy," or from his role as a vampire in any movie you've ever seen. But the new phrase that might be more important is "Get ready to gamble, buddy." Because 10 years ago, Adam Silver had a plan. He wrote an op-ed where he said, "Betting on professional sports is currently illegal in most of the United States outside of Nevada. I believe we need a different approach." And he led the charge to getting the NBA to put their full force behind pushing for legalization of gambling and making it a part of their broadcast and a part of their financial system. And for 10 years, they've been working on it. Finally started to make some money off of this. Sports gambling is huge in the past few years, and they're not stopping there. Again, they want to expand. They want to grow the league. There's always more money to be made.
How many of y'all be on them sports betting apps?
More expansions, more builds, more casinos. Las Vegas doesn't currently have an NBA team, but is definitely on their list of expansion candidates. Interesting. At the same time, though, maybe they've forgotten about the viewership product. They've forgotten about the fans. They just expect they'll always be there to carry them along, but the fans are slowly but surely watching less. Viewership numbers continue to fall. Ratings keep going down. Each NBA Finals gets slightly less viewership than the last. Ever since basically the 2010s, it's been a slow decline. Put these pieces together, and you have a league that is looking for something to jumpstart interest in the league, especially globally. Now, what is the #1 biggest market team? What is the team that most fans watch and care about? You guys know that the game NBA 2K, you can actually check the data on what the most popular team people play as in the privacy of their own home. It turns out in almost every state, including Texas, which has 2 teams, people play as the Lakers. By the way, speaking of NBA 2K, if you try to make this Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade in NBA 2K, it won't let you. It's so one-sided, the game won't let you do it. Players have weighed in along these lines.
And so, first of all, I said to myself, no players was involved in this decision. This was billionaire business. The last 12 to 15 years, the players have decided.
I got a video on my channel where I reacted to this specific video.
Right, what we want to do. This was the owners, the governors, the billionaires deciding what they want to do. So I looked at the business of the game. I said, one of the biggest international stars now is at 25 years old, is traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. The biggest market in the world for sports is the Lakers.
I called somebody yesterday who has known Nico Harrison, the GM who made the deal, the Mavericks GM. And I said, what happened? And this person said, this came from above and beyond the general manager. And when you only get 1 first-round pick back, that is somebody in ownership telling you, just make the deal. That is pressure from upstairs.
Additionally, even though the news around this will tell you that the Mavericks came up with this idea on their own, the Mavs approached us, the Lakers will say. They wanted to get rid of Luka. We had no idea. This is a crazy thing. We jumped on it. But if you look back a little bit, that doesn't add up with some leaks from months and months and months ago.
Get y'all notes and pads out, man. And your pen. You don't need to write this down.
People have been talking about the Lakers' plan to steal Luka for months, even years. In 2023, we're talking about the potential trade. Amir Blumenfeld, who has a basketball podcast, pictured here with me, by the way, in 2021, said, what is it about Luka to the Lakers that just feels inevitable? There's been leaks.
And not to mention, Luka said he always knew this day was going to come. He just didn't know how it was going to happen.
They've been targeting Luka as the face of their franchise for a while. They've known this is the way to grow their mass market appeal for the next 10 years. Lakers always seem to end up with a big star, which helps the NBA. And they reportedly had their sights set on Luka Doncic for a while to replace LeBron. But all these reports ended with the same phrase. I mean, these are rumors and they're funny, but it's very unlikely they'd ever be able to get him. Now look where we find us now. Additionally, the only two people outside of the billionaire casino owners in Vegas who knew about this trade were the GM of the Lakers, Rob Pelinka, and the GM of the Mavericks, Nico Harrison. And these guys are really old friends. This wasn't a bidding war. These are...
Hey, I said that earlier, or I said that on another video, or the last one that will release before this. Excuse me. That will release before this one. They've been plotting, man. We got our own state constitution.
Out Texas is that their legislator only meets for 140 days every 2 years. That means in 2021, they meet from January to June. They make all the laws, and then they don't meet again for 2 more years. So 2023, January to June, they do all the work. They don't meet again for 2 more years. That's when all the laws get made. And that's important. That's going to come up later, so keep that in mind. But if you put all this together, and you notice the Constitution bans gambling, but there's so much money to be made in gambling, there's going to be a political push by those with money. And that has happened.
A billionaire casino owner from Las Vegas has his eyes on Texas.
For years, buses like these have shuttled Texans across state lines to try their luck at casinos. For just as long, some lawmakers have questioned why that money can't stay in Texas.
That's the argument. Why are we letting all our Texas gamblers go elsewhere? We could build casinos right here in Texas and make them money. And the people behind this billionaire push, the Adelsons, for years before they even bought the Mavs, they have been pushing and pushing and pushing to get gambling legalized in Texas. They've been throwing money at it. They've been hiring lobbyists. They've been year after year pushing.
Yeah, and they're going hard on the lobbyists. They're sending them out there. It's crazy.
To try and get gambling legalized in Texas so they can build a second Vegas in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
He and his wife spent $4.5 million on Texas House races in 2020. Experts say they aren't surprised by his interest.
Naturally, all of the significant players in the industry would put, Texas at the top of any of their lists.
Yep. Even former governor of Texas, Rick Perry, seen here swearing in for the job, was hired as a spokesperson for Adelson's Sports Betting Alliance, and then immediately came out and said, I think we should legalize sports betting. They've hired many former Texas politicians. They've hired lobbyists, and they are trying to use all the influence and money they can to get the law changed. So the Adelsons and their son-in-law, Patrick Dumont here, seen here with Mark Cuban, have pushed for years and years and years. And when they buy the Mavs, people are understandably worried. This has some connection to their constant push for legalized sports gambling. But Dumont says no. He said this unprompted, by the way. I want to point out that us buying the team had nothing to do with getting gambling in Texas. But
Yeah, plot twist. They bought the Dallas Mavericks with the intentions of building a newer arena. But here's the plot twist. They wanted a casino in it.
Followed up and said, now look, if there ever comes a time where those two things converge and there's a common interest there and it makes sense, we'll pursue it. And they constantly preached patience as their other casino friends asked them why they were making progress. Don't worry, make patience. Again, we think long-term. We're not people who think in the short term, said Dumont. We have long-term plans here. Don't worry about that. Interesting. Let's go back to this.
That's some secret society type talk, ain't it?
Texas legislature meets for 140 days every 2 years. In 2021, Sheldon Adelson tried his fucking best to get gambling legalized. He did a huge lobbying list, bought the most expensive lobbyists, hired politicians, couldn't get it done. And then he died. His dream left unfulfilled. Then in 2023, his son-in-law and his wife, Mary Adelson, continued the fight. And yet in 2023, despite even more spending, even bigger try, it didn't work. There was no support for expanding gaming from the Senate GOP. It's not an issue if voters want us to pass. Now we find ourselves, if you guys look at the date, exactly 2 years after this. We find ourselves right now in the middle of the 89th legislative session, 2025, when they are pushing harder than ever to make a point that we need to get this gambling law passed. Hey! So, after all this trade deal happened,
I had to hit my boy with the Ayo on that harder than ever, man.
Hey,
you gotta get one of those.
Greg Abbott, who had previously not supported it, switched his stance and said he supports Texas legalizing sports gambling. This is the current governor of Texas. So what do I think happened? If you add all of these different pieces together, I think a couple Vegas billionaires don't give a shit about basketball. And they bought the Mavs for financial reasons. But they also wanted to build a growing second Vegas in Texas. They wanted to build hotels. And they threw a bunch of money at Texas to make this happen. And part of that money included them buying the Mavs. I think that was the plan from the beginning. But then when it didn't happen, year after year after year, they needed a follow-up plan. And that plan came from the desperation of Adam Silver to get the league to grow with viewership. I think they said, if we can't get this done in Texas, then what we'll do is we'll ship Luka off to the Lakers, helping out Adam Silver, which means he'll give us the green light for the expansion slot in Vegas. We can tank if we can't move it to Vegas, then we'll just sit there and rest and invest. We'll spend no money on Luka. We'll sit there and lose and farm taxes. And either way, whether we go to Vegas or whether we sit there and lose because we don't care about winning, we'll make our money back. I think when you add it all up, this makes way more sense than Nico Harrison just being suddenly monumentously stupid after 20 years in basketball, making the worst trade in basketball history. That's what I think happened. And I also think that this kind of sucks. I think it sucks.
That's an odd thing to say.
That even sports are getting constantly invaded by billionaires turning every possible thing into the maximized profit vehicle. I had no problem with Mark Cuban being a billionaire. He loved the Mavericks. He loved basketball. He wanted to win. But these people don't care. And the fact that this becomes so profitable has led to a real negative outcome for the fans. I think this.
All right, family, we're going to shut it down here. Hey, if you agree, matter of fact, drop which conspiracy or which theory you believe he had them numbered. If you didn't write them down, just rewind the video. Help your boy out with the watch time hours. Share. 1,000 subs. That's what we need. Make this YouTube creation dream legitimate. I appreciate y'all. Hope you're having a blessed day. Till next time. Holla.
Stop acting like you know the way ahead. I'd like to take this chance to